we're going to develop the theme that's been brewing over the last few presentations yesterday, and also ran through the course of during today's presentations, ran through the course of yesterday's conference as well. That is the idea of what sets your business apart, what gives you that competitive edge over your rivals. And again, we've heard people say that it is excellent customer service that will really make the difference to your business. So we've got 4 people here who are acknowledged throughout the industry as examples par excellence of customer service. They are Joseph Wan, who is the Chief Executive of Harvey Nichols. Steve Lewis is the Chief Executive of Majestic Wine. Hugh Harvey is the Managing Director of Comet. And then fleshing out that practice, we also have some theory from Gary Topiol as well. So I'm going to start with the fairly simple question to all 3 of the retailers initially. What does excellent customer service mean to you, Joseph?
Well, this is a very interesting question. Of course, it's what we are talking about here. And in a nutshell, I would answer this question by how we at Harvey Nichols approach this. And that is, when I walk the store, when I get my manager to walk the store, we always want to understand what is the customer journey. So my answer to your question is, if a business can ensure that from the first point of contact up to the point when the customer leaves the store, that whole customer journey is pleasurable and rewarding and enjoyable. That's what we would call at Harvey Nichols, we've fulfilled the customer service level. So the customer journey.
Pleasure and enjoyment.
Yeah, and rewarding.
And rewarding. And that's somewhat different from the type of thing that we occasionally hear about the importance of the retail theatre or the look or the feel. Obviously, all those are important, but you want your customers to have enjoyed their visit.
Correct.
What elements are needed to put that into practice?
For example, using the word rewarding, what do I mean there is that if a customer comes into Harvey Nichols and finds something that they don't expect at all, that is something very rewarding. So that's why we always, our buyers, would go around the globe, season after season, trying to find out new up-and-coming designers, new stars, new products. So that's why you see every season when you come into Harvey Nichols, there's so many fresh things, new things. So that is rewarding, for example.
So the variety of the range, the quality of the product are all factors
correct
in that customer enjoyment.
Yeah.
Steve Lewis, your company widely recognised for the quality of the staff that it employs to ensure that they are knowledgeable about the product and that they can communicate that with their customers. Is that your definition of what good customer service is?
Yeah, I think good customer service needs to come from the top. I think you, as a chief executive, need to really believe in customer service and demonstrate it in everything you do and everything you touch. And it really comes from employing people who look and sound like the sons and daughters of our customers and making sure they actually enjoy their job. I don't think you can really deliver good customer service unless your staff really like working in retail, unless they actually enjoy working with the people they're with, unless they enjoy looking after their customers. Because at heart, I think a lot of people who work in retail don't actually enjoy what they're doing. So I think it's very important you create an atmosphere which they really enjoy.
Could you have a specific policy of employing graduates? What lesson should we draw from that? What message should we draw from that in terms of the quality of the workforce, the training you give them, the amount of empowerment that you entrust in their hands?
Well, because our customer base essentially is an educated, affluent, middle-class customer base, I want them to come into the store actually thinking they're going to enjoy the experience, and I want them to go out of the store enjoying that experience. I think if you take graduates who inherently are charming, knowledgeable, educated, if you pile them full of product training so they're just enthused about the product the whole time, they absolutely love the product, they inevitably will pass that enthusiasm on to customers. And I think it's really important that customers come out of the store, hopefully having learnt the name of the member of staff who's actually looked after them. So I think it's training is extremely important. And I think the thing I'd say about good customer service is you can't do it on the cheap. It's really expensive, actually, because you've got to employ graduates. That's expensive for a start. You've got to train them intensely in their first year. And then you've got to do the nice-to-haves as well, because I think it's really interesting that in a recession, it's very important you don't send a message out to your staff that it's war. What you've got to send out is a message that we're still positive, we're going to have fun. So the nice-to-haves, the tasting, sending them on trips abroad. We send our staff all over the world. We send them to South America, South Africa, Australia, all around Europe. We hold tasting events for them all around the country. We get our suppliers to come and do tastings for them. And it's those nice-to-haves, which are very expensive, which create a real value in customer service.
Okay. Steve, thank you very much. Hugh Harvey, what does it mean to you? What is excellent customer service?
I think if we were holding this conference and talking about this topic 10 years ago, you would not have had a representative from the electrical sector on this stage, because fundamentally the reputation, a decade old, was not of good customer service.
But then who would we have mocked?
Well, it's today. I think we've had to go through a transition. We've had to get very much customer focused. And from my perspective, and how we talk to our people, it's providing something to customers that's exceeding their expectations. Many of our customers will come into our stores with that old stereotypical image that they're coming in for a negotiation, if not a fight, which is historic, it's old, and today, what we're trying to do, and it's not just store-based, because the world has moved on with internet, with home delivery, with fixing things in homes, which is everything that we do, and we try to do well. The emphasis is what we want our colleagues to achieve is to deliver an experience that customer will then talk to somebody else about. So it's word of mouth. And that is fundamentally what we're trying to achieve. Exceed customers' expectations to a point whereby they'll pass a comment either in the evening around the dinner table, if indeed today we all have dinner round tables, or they'll pass it to a friend when they're out jogging or something for that ilk, which is, I had a great experience. I didn't realise that Comet can come in and install my gas cooker and my integrated gas cooker, which is a hassle, but we do that. So there's lots of physical things with respect to service, and picking up on Steve's point, it's tough, particularly with the demands of customers today, which are ever increasing. But to put it into a nutshell, what we want is to deliver experiences that people will then talk about in a positive way with others. And
it's not just the selling of the item in store then?
No.
There are other associated things that you hang off that.
Well, we were chatting a little bit earlier, which is the purchase of a washing machine. What's the most important thing about buying a washing machine? Yes, obviously, there's something about the inherent features and benefits of the unit itself, but it's as much about, can you deliver? Can you deliver when I want you? Can you install? Can you take the older one away? Can you take the packaging away? And by the way, you're not going to dump it, you're going to recycle it, and you're going to recycle the old one. We do all that, and we've been doing it for a number of years, and actually, although that is service, what's more important, and this is what we try to, and we ask our home delivery guys to do, is even when you've done that, actually, the experience that is remembered on behalf of customers is you taking a cloth and you wiping down the new product, okay, and making sure that you leave a pristine product in people's homes without your finger marks, and that's the experience. It's not the experience of they arrived on time, they unpacked, it's the experience, and they also took care because they polished. That's what I want to achieve.
The detail.
The detail.
That matters. Gary, you've been spending 15 years in market research, studying customers. You've worked with FTSE 100 companies. Three slightly differently nuanced approaches there to what excellent customer service is. Joseph talked about enjoyment, Steve talked about knowledge and enthusiasm, Hugh talking there about the complete service down to the final details. What should other retailers draw from that when they're thinking about their own businesses?
So I think what we've heard is how far retailing has come over the last 10 or 15 years. I think the question you asked, if you asked it 5, 10 years ago, we'd have talked about greeting customers, acknowledging them, how quickly you serve them. That's customer service. But I think we've moved far more towards understanding the experience, how customers interact with us. And what you've heard from 3 distinct businesses is their level of understanding of what their customers expect when they walk in the store and their efforts to make sure they meet and exceed those expectations. And it's really about delivering an in-store experience that is going to really drive your business forward.
And in the research that you do, what are customers saying to you about what they expect or how good the retailers are at delivering it?
Yeah. I think that's a great question. I'm asked that question fairly often. Unfortunately, though, because all retailers are different, they really need to understand what drives their customers' loyalty, what drives their customers' experience, rather than kind of looking at more general points. Although, kind of 2 things I think it does come back to, one of which Steve talked about. Your staff enjoying their roles, customers walking in and feeling a buzz in that store, feeling like the staff are enjoying there. I think it's a key part of that in-store experience. And the other one is time. Is just to think about time and how you can give your customers what we call the gift of time, which is minimising the amount of time they have to spend doing things they don't enjoy doing, like queuing. But then maximising the amount of time they spend doing things they do like doing, like browsing through electrical products or fashion or wine, enjoying the in-store experience. So how can we make sure that their journey through that store, when they walk in and want to find a product, they want to do that quickly. So how can we get them to the range of products? But then how can we leave them there to enjoy that experience, to browse through the products, to select the item they want. But then time is precious again. So once I've selected my product, I want to get out of that store as quickly as I can.
Let's bank the idea that things like queues have been sorted out, that any good retailer knows that needs to be done, and they have done it, and you have then created that time for your customer to enjoy the experience. Joseph, how important is it for the associates, the colleagues that they come into contact with in the store, that they are familiar with the product, that they know the product, they know what will work with a particular customer?
It's very, very important, of course. That's why if we discuss customer service, we can sit here the whole day, whole week, because it's talking about attention to detail. Product knowledge in our business is just as important as in the wine business, because we do sell wine as well in our food market. But in fashion, it is very important that our sales assistant at each brand's department understand the designer's philosophy, their choice of fabrics and colors, their current trend, and even the next season trend to assist the customer. So all our sales assistants in all brand departments do have training every season on that brand's portfolio. And if you want more product knowledge, then you go to our personal shopping department. Then they have got very diversified knowledge of the whole fashion trend, whether it be in Europe, in the Far East, or wherever. So product knowledge plays a very big role in our delivering good customer service.
But how much of that you are... clearly there's a ban on the word posh here today after Mark Price spoke this morning, but you are at the high end of retail.
Yes.
And you have generous margins that allow you to afford very thorough training and picking just the right people. How much of that can be applied to general retailers? Should they aspire to that as much as they financially can cope?
No, again, it's a question of sharing experience rather than anything else. I do not want to pretend that what I'm saying is the right thing or wrong thing or whatever. It's a question of sharing experience. In our case, for example, when we are recruiting sales assistants on the shop floor, we do not discriminate based on academic achievement or knowledge. I don't mind whether he or she is a graduate or a non-graduate. What we are after is the attitude and aptitude. In a way, it is reconciling with what you said earlier, my learned colleague here. Basically, if someone is interested in serving customer, then I don't care what is his or her academic background. But on the other hand, you can have a PhD there, the best of academic qualification on paper, but he or she may have no interest whatsoever in even talking to people, never mind delivering the customer service. So what does it do to us? So we are very much after, at the selection point in terms of recruitment, people's attitude and aptitude. With that, we can train them up, whether it be product knowledge or how to engage in customer. But without that, however strong your papers say, then it's no good. That's our experience.
And Steve, that echoes what you were saying. The crucial factor in all of this is the quality of the individual.
It is. I don't think I've ever been called learned colleague before. You got it in a reference to his wine department, but you did say about high margins, didn't you?
I did.
So, yeah. Joseph.
He may still be cheaper than
Actually,
Waitrose, though.
can I say about this? I would say actually if I'm honest with you, we invest really heavily in training in order to attract the staff in the first place, because if you want to employ graduates, graduates obsessed by being trained. They all realise that if they want to progress their career nowadays, you can't just walk into a great job and soar up and earn a load of money. You've got to invest in yourself. So they're really into training. So we do a huge amount of training just to attract them, if I'm honest with you. But actually, the thing about knowledge in wine can be quite intimidating, actually. And coming into a wine store and having a member of staff clatter on at you about the soil type of, Kimmeridgian clay in Chablis. Look, I'm boring you already, aren't I? And saying, that sort of thing, and north-facing, south-facing slopes. Actually, it's very intimidating. And so what we've done is we've actually tried to leverage this staff knowledge by engaging with our customers. So we run wine courses free of charge in our stores. We've trained all our managers to run them. It takes them through how wine's made in the vineyard and in the winery, how to taste wine, food and wine matching. And it's free. We give them a voucher to spend in the evening, and customers absolutely love it.
Sorry, these courses are for customers?
They're for customers, yeah. Customers absolutely love it. We had all the knowledge anyway. We just wanted to show it off and leverage it and make it approachable. And it's about getting your customers to be advocates for you. Well, Hugh, what you're saying. I think people do still have dinner parties, certainly. So it's about if you have very educated, affluent customers, they don't have to talk to each other. They really, really do, for the good stuff and the bad stuff. So I've tried to make knowledge not intimidating. I don't know if that makes sense.
That's knowledge on the part of the customer as opposed to
I think the staff having loads and loads of knowledge about wine is potentially puts customers off. You've got to leverage that knowledge and make it accessible and approachable for the customer.
And also make the product more available to the customer. Courses, tastings, however it is, you encourage them to sample it.
Yeah, we tasting wine in store is a fantastic thing to do, and it's trying to get people to actually do that. Once you can get people over the barrier, they love doing it.
And you have the same sort of sampling approach to your customers as well, encouraging them to pick up the product, to try it out to see how it works. A long cry from the days when everything was tagged with that little sort of plastic rope that set off 15 alarm bells.
We still have a few stores with those tags in certain locations, particularly in the Liverpool area. I can say that because I am a Scouser, but...
It's no excuse.
It's no excuse. No, I mean, our theme last autumn-winter was come and play. And again, as the world's changing and the internet is certainly impacting our business, then the role of the store and the definition of service has to be you come and you have a demonstration, you have an experience, and ideally that's a hands-on experience whereby you can touch and feel, you can listen to a piece of audio equipment, you can see a picture of a 3D TV, or indeed as simplistically you can close the door of a fridge. All those elements are extremely important, and from our perspective, our role is then to add to that with the quality of the conversation that we can convey through our colleagues. And that's difficult in our industry because the technology is moving at a phenomenal rate. Typically, everything that you buy from an electrical store, you've got to plug into something else. So the number of interfaces is just incredible. And you could have guys that are just completely techie, but actually that's not good because the minority of our customers are techie. The majority of our customers actually want to be talked to. They want to be guided through the technology such that they make, and we help them navigate to make them the right decision, because invariably we're asking them to spend a fair amount of money with us each and every purchase. So yeah, you've got to have the product, but you've got to then marry the product with the human, the people aspect. And Steve says, our model of retail, and very few retailers today actually deliver service through people. They deliver service through availability or through management of queues. But our fundamental role is to deliver service through people.
And just picking up the theme from Joseph and from Steve as well, did you find on this journey of improving customer service, on this journey of providing the full service, that you had to take quite a hard look at the quality of the people that you had?
Yes, and indeed, we introduced 4 behaviours in our business, and 2 of those behaviours, one of which was passion to serve, because we're in that form of retail, which is you have to serve customers, and if you don't enjoy it, then you won't enjoy being around here. So that's fundamental. And deep knowledge, and that's not just about product knowledge, it's about deep knowledge about delivery and fixing and everything else. So you have to work hard, but also you have to ensure that it comes from the top, going back to what Steve says, which is 10 days ago, the crucial measurement in our industry was less about customer service and more about KPIs. It was more about selling credit versus serving customers. So you have to align through your business and measure the appropriate things. So we're a customer of Gary's, Net Promoter Score, we mystery shop and everything else. So these things weren't in our business 10 years ago. Whenever I went into and talked to a manager and said, how are you doing? He used to rattle off a series of KPIs. I used to say, that's not what I asked. I asked, how are you? So you've got to break it, and then you've got to make sure that you're aligned throughout your business.
So not just upskilling, but also where demanded, changing the culture.
Actually, to a lot of people, it's relatively easy because that's what they want. That's why they come into retail. The biggest enjoyment of our colleagues is, the biggest buzz that they get is serving customers. So actually, 10 years ago, I think the industry was constraining the experience. Whereas if you say, listen, what it's about is putting smiles on people's faces so that you can walk out and put the washing machine or the 40-inch LED TV in the back of somebody's car, shake their hand, and that's the buzz for our colleagues. It's kind of a job well done. That's what motivates. That's what inspires. That's what keeps them going.
And Gary, we have Hugh with the plug and play, the allowing customers to experience the product in the store before they buy. Joseph with his sort of range of products that customers can examine and try on before leaving the store, and Steve allowing his customers to get drunk at his expense. Crucially, all of these things are things that can't be done online. They are acute differentiators from the online retail experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've heard a lot over the last day and a half around the evolution of retailing, about multi-channel, cross-channel retailing. And I think these are just examples of what that means. If I want to buy something based purely on price, I can pretty much guarantee that the cheapest way to do that is going to be online. Even if I'm stood in a retail store, I can often source those products cheaper from that same retailer if I go online. So the in-store experience has to add value. I think often it's about the experience, it's about the fun, it's about touching and feeling products. It's often about confidence, about needing to get advice, needing some reassurance that you're making those right decisions. So I think it's absolutely critical if you want to have a successful footprint on the high street that you use those stores for more than just a distribution of your products, because there are far more efficient ways to distribute products in this day and age.
Okay, thank you. We have time if anyone wants to ask a question or two. We have time for a few. There's a hand just over there. We'll just see if there's a microphone on its way to you. If not, we may need you to just stand up and raise your voice.
I'm just interested how you've changed your customer service strategy
Okay, who was that for?
Just the panel.
Okay, who'd like to take that?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Could you
It's in self-service, for example, self-scanning. So customers are going to, one might argue that they are doing clearly the work of employees.
Okay, so in other retailers, such as the supermarkets, customers are doing more of the basic retailing tasks themselves. How does that fit alongside this argument? Yes, the argument that customer service is key when you're making the customers do the work.
Yeah, no, I don't think it fits at all, actually. I loathe self-scanning, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I don't know if that's controversial.
No, just in a sense, you answered it a little bit earlier on with your...
Look, I think that, I mean, how many of us, honestly, and I have huge regard for the supermarkets, you know, I think they do a fantastic job, but how many of us really look forward to going shopping in the supermarkets? You know, how many of us really want to do that? It's a chore you have to do. I think that actually getting your customers to do the work for you is taking some of the soul out of retail, to be honest. I mean, there's a real theme here going on about customer engagement, isn't there? And whilst I couldn't possibly argue that it's not the right thing for the supermarkets to do, but actually I think if we're going to stop talking to our customers, if we're going to stop really engaging with them, I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what makes retail such a vibrant industry.
And yet it works for them.
Well, does it? I mean, it's a soulless experience, isn't it? I'm sorry if probably I'm the only one in the room that thinks this, but I think it's a deeply soulless experience, and I think customers don't fall for it. They know that effectively they're adding to the retailer's margins because they've not got a person serving them. And I actually think in the long run, if you look at customer service standards in the UK now compared to where they were 10 years ago, they've soared. It's a real problem for my business. I have to constantly reinvent customer service because other retailers are doing it properly now. They weren't 10 years ago. And I actually think that retailers will have to look at things like self-scanning because I think actually it'll turn customers off. I'm sorry if that's controversial, you know, if that's not really what you would expect.
Okay, thank you. There was a hand just over here. If you can keep your hand up, we can actually see where to bring the microphone. It's just approaching you there.
Helena Packshaw. This is a question for Steve. I do actually like shopping in Waitrose, but clearly I'm posh.
I agree with you. I love Waitrose.
Which is why I'm a card-carrying member of the Majestic fan club.
Thank you.
Having said that, and I think this is just quite interesting, when I go into a Majestic, is it a blokey thing? Because there are never any women there. I mean, not that I'm objecting, because I really like those young men who come along, put stuff in my car. But...
Why do you go in the store again?
If I'm honest with you, 40% of our intake is female. I'm a great believer in mixed teams. I've got 3 daughters, so if I'm honest with you, we purposely pick staff who we think are likely to flirt with our customers.
You do that
I've yet to experience this.
That's an advertising slogan.
Carry on.
Well, look, come on, what are we doing? We're picking people who look and sound like the sons and daughters of our customers. You know, one of the things that one customer said to me is he was a guy, early retired guy, and he said, well, what's so nice about shopping in Majestic is I get to talk to and meet younger people. I mean, because the average age of our company is 27. I'm one of the oldest people in the company, which makes me feel very old. But I think that actually, if you can go into a store and be met by someone in their sort of mid-20s who's really engaging and charming, it's a memorable experience.
So we've talked...
I've been found out.
Exhibit A. Yes. So we've talked about the customer experience, the customer journey in the store, the importance of the aptitude and the ability of the people that you hire, the importance of skills, the importance of knowledge, the importance of familiarity with the product on the part of both the sales associate and the customer as well. There's one little group that we've left out of that discussion, and that is your suppliers. Do they have any role at all in helping you deliver excellent customer service?
Well, they have a very key role, certainly in our business, because as I've said, you know, the technology is always changing. Then fundamentally we rely on our manufacturers to provide constant stream of knowledge into our business. Now we may we might take that and cook it and build it ourselves through e-learning modules and everything else. And unfortunately, our guys get to go to dishwasher factories in Poland rather than vineyards in the south of France. But that's what we do, and we're reliant on a supplier network in order to really plug their knowledge. And because often it's very deep knowledge, and increasingly the knowledge is actually getting to be quite. There's a lack of a differential in some sectors. So it's as much about telling a brand story, which can be hellishly frustrating from a customer saying, well, what's the difference between product A and product B? Mm. But if we can give our colleagues, and they've experienced the visits to different factories, if not in real terms, but in virtual terms, then that's part and parcel of what we're trying to do. But they're critical.
And Joseph, just a final thought from you. You are acknowledged as a wonderful example of customer service and how to deliver it. And yet you cannot stay still. You have to keep innovating, you have to keep improving all the time. How do you do that?
Well, it's by being innovative and anticipating customer demands and requirements. I have said many times before in this type of discussion that many retailers in the retailing businesses talking about trying to get consultants to understand what the customer wants. To me, that is already showing some weakness in terms of providing customer services. Because a successful retailer should not only understand what the customer currently wants, they should be able to anticipate, hopefully correctly, what the customer wants next seasons, not just now. So if you need to get consultant to help you to understand what the customer wants now, to me, you're already a failure in our trade, to say the least. So for example, being innovative, Harvey Nichols go out to brands like Prada, Gucci, Chloe, or whoever, not only cherry pick the best of the best for the season for our customers. Our buyers, our merchandisers, for example, actually go to the brand and say, look, having seen your collection for this season or for next season, we actually think our customer would like some adaptation to some of your pieces. So we are actually inviting the brands to create some limited edition, although it's Chloe or Prada, but for Harvey Nichols. This is the latest trend, if you like, in fashion, high-end fashion retailing that we have started, So this is just one example, innovation. So we will never stop. We will continue moving further and further ahead to try to come up with the new things. That's what I call why is it rewarding? Because when the customer come in, they never expect to see that now they can find Chloe's special edition made for Harvey Nichols, which obviously, therefore, they cannot find anywhere else.
And is there anything you've learned from other retailers that you've then applied?
Yes, of course we do, because we go around the world seeing trends, seeing new business practices, what are best practices all the time. So we learn from different people all the time. If your question to me today, what is the most admired retailer that you have in mind in terms of customer service? My answer to that question, if that's the question, is today I admire most the Apple Store. I think that is really something. That is wow, because it actually provides what we have been discussing, product knowledge. When I walk into that store, the sales assistant on the shop floor are not looking to me as a customer to buy. The first thing they want to ask me is, what do I want to understand about which product? What exactly is my requirement? And in fact, as you know, they actually offer free classes for whoever who want to know more about IT, more about technology, more about communication. Well, you can't do better than that.
They stole that idea from you.
Absolutely, all the time.
I'm sure you had it first.
What have you learned from other retailers?
Well, I pick up Waitrose, actually. I admire Waitrose greatly, and what they've done is they've taken what I think can be quite a basic experience, supermarket shopping, and I think they've taken it up a level. And the way that their staff do engage with you and are so helpful, and yet they're a massive retailer, massive national retailer, and to be able to do that, the thing about retail is you've got to do things right day after day after day. You've got so many ways to mess it up, haven't you? And I think they do it nationally. So no, I really admire them.
Keith?
We have a number of reference points. So if you're talking online, then you invariably go to somebody like an Amazon just for their ease, but also you go and reference ASOS because what they've done and what they bring, video content, marketplace. In terms of stores, actually Majestic is often referenced in our business. I know Steve used to reference Comet in his business, but not for the good side, but for the bad side. But that was some years ago, wasn't it?
I used to do an induction, well, I still do an induction for all our new members of staff, and I was telling you that what I used to do sort of 7-8 years ago was to say, who ever enjoyed going in a Comet store? No one, did they? And then I've had to stop doing it, to be honest, all credit to you, because actually that story doesn't work. Well, actually, it was me who gave you that story about the washing machine. About buying washing machines. It's got nothing to do with washing machines, has it? It's to do with delivery, installation, removal, and it's true. The reason why I can't use this story anymore is because you've cracked it. You've done it.
Okay, let's break up the smug appreciation. That's going on.
He's flirting with me, isn't he?
I'll just move out of the way. Best in class, who should they be looking at?
I think it's always really interesting when the Apple Store is mentioned as a great in-store experience because it's predicated on great product. But even with great product, they've overlaid an experience that is often referenced. I think another example of that, which is a personal favourite of mine, is Hotel Chocolat. Great product, but also just a great in-store experience, the passion they have for the business, the knowledge they have about the product. But I think they also trust their staff. So I had an experience where I ordered some presents online and they arrived and there was one missing. And I didn't have time to go back to online because we were going away. So I went to my local store and I said, we delivered this and this product was missing. And that store then gave us that product. I think that level of trust is critical. I think too often we've over-processed the experience and we've lost that trust in our in-store team. So that for me would be an example of great experience.
And within that, another truth, which is that the online service has to be every bit as good.
Sure. I mean, we don't separate out. We don't consider, right, I'm going to go to this retailer for their online channel and a different retailer for this channel. We go across channel. And that's just one example, but the interplay between online, mobile and in-store is just going to become ever more complex. And I think you've got to consider what is your business going to stand for, what's your brand going to stand for, not what each of your discrete channels going to be like.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, can you thank Joseph Wine, Steve Lewis, Hugh Harvey and Gary Topiol.